So she went down to get him, and the people they were trying to stop her. But when they found out it was Mrs. Prevost, they let her go and get her son to bring him home. So although they had respect, you know, I think because she commanded that respect, that's what gave her strength, her determination to see things right, to right wrongs that she saw.
A bright, precocious child, Bess loved poetry, a passion she carried throughout her life. Her memory for poetry was legendary.
And it was this sense of inferiority that was inbred and nurtured into black children that made them feel that they were inferior. Now, I was a rather unusual black child, but I never had that feeling. Never. Of my parents, particularly my mother. Never felt inferior. So I was just a bit different. And when I became of age, I decided to find them for myself, my beginnings. I buried myself into the poetry of Paul Laurence Dunbar, memorized hundreds of his poems. I still can still recite them at 74. I read whatever black history I could possibly get my hands on, which at that time wasn't very much.
There were few career choices open to Carrie Best as a young black woman when she finished high school. She taught school in Digby for a very short period before she met and married Barbadian Albert Best in 1925. They were married in New Glasgow by Reverend William White, father to contralto Portia White. Their son Calvert was born on July 12, 1926. The Best household grew after a visit to the Nova Scotia Home for Colored Children.
After her father died, my younger siblings went to foster homes, and the oldest ones went to the Nova Scotia Home for Colored Children. And we were there for 6 years. And after Mr. Best retired from the railroad, he was looking for a young man to come and help with the gardening. And so it was my brother Aubrey who he was thinking about. But our social worker said, well, we have this 3 other siblings. I wonder, would it be possible if you took all 4? So Mrs. Best took the 4 of us. But I never realized till later on that she would come to the home to visit her friend who happened to be the matron of the home, who lived in New Glasgow. And I can remember her because she always wore these beautiful hats. And I didn't realize until we came here that this is the person who would come to the home. So we ended up here in 1962.
The story that I remember the most was getting up the next morning for breakfast to a white tablecloth with a fully set table and breakfast served that way. That was the first. Oh, and I think with that was the Bible reading at the table. That I was taught at the time. I remember that very, very well.
Meal times were wonderful. We always sat down of course, every meal was at the table. And of course, the first thing we always did, which I do to this day, is to say grace, to thank God for what we have. So that was number one. We had talked about school and what goes on at school and talked about, what was going on in the world. And it was always a happy time. Mealtime was always a great time. We always, we had to talk, we had to contribute. Well, she was very clear in her desires for us. Number one was our education. That came first. No, I shouldn't say education came first. First, a belief in God and putting Him first in our lives was the most important thing. Then came our education. And when you're a teenager, I know you think, oh, yeah, your parents are so strict because they don't let you do this and they don't let you do that. And like some of the girls, when we would go to CGIT or young people, we were told to come right home. You don't stay around the streets or stand on the corner, you come straight home.
I was probably around maybe 12 or 14, really knew, who she really was. We had many people come to our home during a period of time, but say, then was Mrs. Best. Mrs. Best is here, Mom, and she says, okay, or tell her I'll be right there, and so, but we learned a lot about communities and life that was happening. It was around the Sunday afternoon dinner table, because after church, that's where so many conversations took place. Now, mind you, being the youngest, you weren't always allowed to jump into a conversation, but you listened, right? You were respectful and you listened to the conversations that unfolded, and many discussions were held that involved the past week, so to speak, and things that happened. So you would learn a lot. Again, you would always hear about some kind of racial tension. Dr. Carrie Best was on the scene, and she was known as someone who was a fighter for justice and a fighter for our people.
I actually was fortunate enough to meet her when I was a young girl. Back in my early days, our church communities would travel throughout the province, and one of the places we traveled to frequently was Glasgow. And during that occasion, I had the privilege of having Sunday dinner